Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to share a video with you all of our experience flying on British Airways in their business class level. And we've flown business class before, my husband and I, on Copa Airlines, which was, without the kids, and I have a review of that as well. And so flying British Airways, I'll kind of compare the two and also talk about if it was worth it to spend the money to upgrade from coach to business class. So here we go. All right, so why did we fly business class? We decided to do this. It was a big splurge for us because buying 4 business class plane tickets when you don't have points is a heavy lift. And it was the first time we were flying from Denver to London nonstop, and it was the first time that our kids were flying that far. So we thought long and hard about it, and we planned this awesome 3-week, bucket list European adventure. We thought, okay, should we save some money, go to coach, or should we splurge and try to guarantee that we get a good night's sleep? So we decided to go for it. For us, because we weren't using points or anything like that, the price was approximately 3 times as expensive. But our experience on business class, I'm gonna walk you through how it goes from beginning to end. And overall, it was a very positive experience. So when you go to check in at the Denver airport, you can go to a separate line so you don't wait as long in line, which is nice. And then they have a business class lounge at the Denver airport. At that lounge, there's food, there's some snacks for the kids. The food selection wasn't huge. It was mainly little hors d'oeuvres, but there were drinks for the kids, there were little desserts, there were adult beverages if you want to partake in those. And so it's kind of a place where you can hang out before you have to board your flight. And then because you're flying business, you do get to board as one of the first people on board. On the airplane itself, the seats go fully flat. And so that means that unlike Copa Airlines where it reclines, but it doesn't go fully flat, you get a makeshift bed. And they provide you with pillows, blankets, a sheet. They give you a little goodie bag that's got socks, toothbrush, toothpaste, which comes in really handy after you wake up from a nap on an airplane, a eye mask, chapstick, this nice little lavender scented thing that my daughter was really into. Our 7-year-old, she was living her best life. From start to finish, she thought she was the fanciest human being alive, and that alone was worth a lot to us because she couldn't even contain herself. She was so excited that she got to have a bed on an airplane. What?
Kubi, are we in business class?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Do you feel fancy?
Yeah. This TV was here.
So the way the business class is structured is that the center, so the side by the windows, there's 2 seats, and one faces forward, one faces backwards, and then there's a little panel in between if you wanted some privacy. And then in the center, you have a similar situation where you've got 2 side seats and you can have the panels, and then you've got this center pod. And there's not a ton of privacy between you and the person next to you. There's just a tiny little panel. So if you're flying by yourself, I strongly recommend not getting one of those center seats, just so you can have a little bit more privacy when you're, trying to stretch out and fall asleep. So choose one of the other seats. If you are flying with your family or a loved one, then definitely get those, because then you can have a little bit more elbow room, especially if you're sitting next to a little person, because they don't take up a lot of space. And on the plane, something we learned that I wish we had known in advance, but it's our own fault, is that if you're flying with kids, you can contact the airline and they have a special separate menu for children. And so we didn't do that, and we may do with the offerings. The offerings are extensive. The food's okay. It's still airplane food. It's not gonna be, the best salmon you've ever eaten in your life, but it's definitely better than flying in coach. And, you get a cocktail on takeoff if you want one, or champagne or water. You have a full menu, so since we were doing a red eye over to London, we had a dinner menu, and then, you know, there's snacks and things like that. There's other beverages you can order from. And they also have a breakfast menu for 8 hours later, and you can choose from that, or there's a special selection part where you can choose to say, if I'm sleeping, please don't wake me up. And I'm a big sleeper, and that's the reason we booked this flight and the reason we paid so much for business class. So we selected to not be woken up, that we would prefer to sleep through our breakfast if we're sleeping. And the other thing that they provide, which doesn't come in too handy on night flights, but definitely does during the day, is that they have a little snack offering section where you could actually get up and go ask some of the flight attendants what they have, some, you know, chips and popcorn and chocolates and things like that. So you will not go hungry in business class. So don't worry about that. You don't need to bring your own snacks. And because it's a smaller section of the airplane, the flight attendants are very responsive to anything you might ask for. The seats themselves, not only do they fully recline, but they also have chargers. So if you want to charge your devices, you know, if you are not someone who can sleep on an airplane, and you want to stream some movies or something like that, then you'll do some work, then you can charge your devices. And there's lots of little storage compartments, so you can kind of put things away so you're not going to feel like you're cramped in any way. It is a lean seat. It's not super wide. On our flight home, I snuck a peek at the first class, which is a step above their seats that fully recline, and they are definitely wider and look a little more comfortable, but that was definitely out of our budget. So business class for us was great, and it was as fancy as I ever need to go, and I loved it. Now, when you're flying British Airways, when you land in London, which is where they're based, they actually have an arrivals lounge that you can go to and freshen up and get some food and stuff like that. We didn't choose to do that because we actually had another small plane to catch flying to Amsterdam. So we missed out on the arrivals lounge experience, but I've heard from a friend of ours, it's really nice. And sometimes after a long flight, it's nice to just take a little time to get yourself together before you head out to whatever you're doing in London. Now, on the way home from leaving out of London to fly back to Denver in business class, their lounge, so they actually have multiple lounges. So there's a lounge for sort of the business class folks, and then there's a special lounge for the first class folks. So because we weren't flying in first class, I have no idea what was over there, but it looked very beautiful. The business class lounge at London Heathrow Airport is enormous. There's tons of food options, definitely more than the Denver airport. So you could have a full meal. They had a whole selection of whiskeys and wine and tons of snacks for the kids and food that the kids would actually eat. So they had, you know, pasta and stuff like that. They had a play area for children. So if you're at the airport for an extended period of time, there's tons for the kids to do. And so we really enjoyed that experience, kind of relaxing in the lounge before our flight. And so on the flight home, because we were flying during the day, I still napped for a little while, but my kids took advantage of the snacks and all the meals, and they really loved it. They were a little bummed out about the food options, and so if we ever fly business class again with British Airways, I will be contacting them to get the special kids meals. Our meals were fine, but you know, beef tenderloin tips weren't great for our 5-year-old son, and so that's okay. But overall, would I recommend flying business class? I would. If you're someone who is an anxious flyer like myself, or someone who really wants to get a sort of decent night's sleep on the airplane, it is a great option for you if it's in your budget, or if you're flying with points. I would recommend trying to get the upgrade because the seats were so comfortable. I feel like the flight actually went by a lot faster because I was so comfortable that, you know, I wasn't constantly feeling like I was in a, you know, claustrophobic situation with people next to me that I may or may not know. So I felt like the time went by faster, and on the flight home, I was able to get some work done, and that was really nice. So overall, it was a very great experience. It was definitely a step above Copa Airlines, but also the price was a step above Copa Airlines business class. So overall, if it's in the budget, do it. It will help you get a decent night's sleep. It will help you relax, kind of kick back a little bit. Is it worth it financially if it means that you'll have to compromise on another part of your vacation? I would say no. Just fly coach, get to Europe, have an amazing time. But if you can swing it, it definitely was a very fun experience. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you've flown British Airways first class, comment below, let me know how that is, and subscribe to this channel for more adventures in the future. Thanks so much. Bye.